And they were furious that we'd pointed out that they'd had to admit that sea level wasn't going to rise anything like the 20 feet that Al Gore had imagined, or even the 3 feet that they'd tried to imagine before. They were furious. And so they inserted this graph without checking with the scientists, and they thought we might as well multiply by 10 the effect of the ice sheets in Greenland and Antarctica on global warming. So they did. They just moved the decimal points in 4 places. But being dim as well as dishonest, they failed to add up the 4 new figures correctly. So I spotted that the total at the bottom wasn't right. It wasn't even within a factor of 2 of what it should have been. So I got on to 4 different UN officials on the day of publication, and I said, this is unacceptable, you are to correct it. So very furtively, they moved the table, corrected it, relabeled it and called it something else, put it somewhere else in the report, and furtively posted it up on their website without issuing any statement that they had made any correction to the final published draft. That's how dodgy these people are, even when they're caught out. And for that, I wear with pride my Nobel Peace Prize pin. I too, Al Baby, am a Nobel laureate, but I got it for telling the truth, and you got it for telling lies. So, the 2,500 IPCC scientists lie. The IPCC, this is the UN's climate panel, it says that 2,500 scientists participated in this dismal report they've just produced in 2007. Al Gore last week in Madison, Wisconsin, inflated that to 4,000. The number of scientists who actually contributed to the crucial chapter of that report, which says that most of the warming of the last 50 years was our fault, was 50. The number of reviewers who rejected that conclusion was 60. But the IPCC's documents are not peer-reviewed in the accepted sense. If the reviewers say this is rubbish, but the authors say we are sticking to the line, and this is what we're going to say, it's the authors who prevail. And they paid no attention to the reviewers. But also, we now introduce the main question to which we need to know the answer in order to decide whether we have a climate problem or not. In policy making, the art is to distill an apparently complex question into something simple that we can actually answer. And that question is this: by how much will the world warm in response to a given proportionate increase in the atmospheric concentration of carbon dioxide? That's the central question. Everything else is dross, because if the answer to that question is not very much warming, then all the scare and all the other problems that you see all over the UN's reports and all over the media fall away, baseless. Now, the UN cites only 4 scientific papers in support of the values of the 3 parameters which, when multiplied together, yield final climate sensitivity, the amount of warming you get for a doubling of CO2 concentration. Just 4 papers written between them by about a dozen researchers. Not 2,500 and not 4,000. Now we come on to a lie in the 1995 report, and this is one of the most extraordinary lies of the lot. Time and again, the scientists in that report said we cannot find any anthropogenic or human signal in the climate record. We are having no effect on temperature as far as we can see. They said it 5 times very clearly. Here's one sample of it, here's another, and now watch this. Here is what the bureaucrats did. They rewrote the final draft, yet again, after it had been cleared and signed off by the scientists, to say the exact opposite. The body of evidence now points to a discernible human influence on climate, and that has been the official line ever since. Here is the latest lie in the 2007 report, the iconic lie there. They're attempting to show that global warming is accelerating. Implication that our CO2 emissions are accelerating, and this is causing a more rapid rate of warming. This is a statistical lie known as the start point or end point fallacy, where you take a jiggly uppy-downy data set like temperature, you don't know which way it's going to go next, a stochastic data set. If you choose your start points and your end points carefully enough, you can make it look as though any trend you want is happening. Here they've tried to show a rising trend. I'm now going to take the same data, but I'm going to take the more recent end of it, between 1993 at the present, and I'm going to choose my own start points. Look at this. Top left, 1993 to the present. Top right, 1997 to the present. Bottom left, 2001 to the present. Bottom right, 2005 to the present. We're heading for a new ice age. Now, here is a question for you to see whether you've been concentrating as alertly as I hoped. Which of those two graphs is nearer to the truth? Hands up for the UN's graph. None, I think. Hands up for my graph. A few. Hands up for neither. Much more. And those who said neither are correct. Because remember, I started out by saying this is a bogus statistical technique. Every time you use it, it produces results which could only be right purely by accident. It is invalid whether you do it to try and show a falling temperature or you do it to try and show a rising temperature. And I merely gave you that example to show how easy it is to bend the data in the way that the UN has done. And it is a disgrace that a public authority in receipt of taxpayers' money from around the world should dare to produce a graph like that one that we've just seen. That should never have been done. It is a clear, continuing instance of deliberate bad faith. And now here is the truth. Do you know that the guy who runs the science panel of the UN's climate panel, is he a climatologist? Nope. Is he a physicist? Nope. Is he a mathematician? Nope. He is a railroad engineer. So we have removed his railroad lines from this graph, and we've added his lordship's much grander purple lines. And you'll see they all run in parallel.